Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Hollow and today we're revisiting Hunters Arena Legends. I originally took a look at this upcoming PvPvE Battle Royale game last year before it was playable to see what it was all about. A melee focused fighter with RPG style progression throughout every match, a massive map to fight and survive in, and 12 different playable hunters to start with. It was a lot to take in back then when we first talked about it, since there's dungeons, big raid bosses, secret loot, increasing power levels, and it's all in that battle royale environment of up to 60 players at once. It's a very different take on the battle royale genre, and with this new style of BR game that's become more and more popular as of late, I was interested to see how far Hunters Arena has come since we last looked at it last year. And wonderfully, I'm happy to say that Mantisco approached us to try out the game during one of its recent stress tests before the launch of the early access on July 15th, and we want to say thank you to them for sponsoring this video. So if you are interested in trying the game and want to give the early access a go, please be sure to use the links via the description or pinned comment on this video to let them know we sent you. You'll be able to play the game via Steam, so you can feel free to wishlist it there if you wanna. Now let's get started with everything you need to know about Hunters Arena Legends. Now as I mentioned, we have 12 characters to play known as the Hunters, and since this is a melee focused fighter style of game, well, the Hunters come with various abilities and playstyles that are all relatively different from one another, but they do have some subcategories of their own, since some of them have a little bit more range to their abilities and maybe more elusive style of combat. Now for the combat, each hunter will come with 4 base abilities to unlock as you progress through each match, which will unlock really quickly, and then we unlock the 5th at level 20. We do this by gaining experience from lots of different sources in the game, but at 20 we unlock that ultimate ability that's unique and special to every hunter. They're big powerful hits or power-ups with special animations to show them off, and you really want to avoid being hit by one of these because they do a lot of damage, and I didn't avoid it once. We'll be making good use of basic attacks on the martial skills and combining these for different combos to CC enemies and keep them out of action while you keep doing damage. There's a good chunk of different ways to splice abilities with basic attacks or those martial skills to make your different combo strings. To avoid damage or prevent it, we're able to block, parry, and dodge, but these all take up some of your stamina bar, so it's not like you can do it forever. On top of all of that, if you do find yourself being comboed into oblivion by, say, multiple enemies or whatever, there is an escape ability which will break you out of any combo, any CC, and avoid being bursted down. Now we've got an idea of how the hunters work and how the combat generally works, let's talk about the main game modes. The game is starting with 4 game modes for the early access launch. We have the solo battle royale mode, the main mode of play probably for me, in which we head into the world to fight monsters of increasing difficulty all over a massive map to gather gear and XP, increasing our power however we can. There's chests to find, dungeons to explore, and they will reward much better loot at that, but at a higher risk as well, because you might just bump into bigger bosses that roam around these dungeons who are worth lots of XP, good loot, and very dangerous to fight. With that powerful gear, we also need to look out for other players and attempt to take them down, or even avoid them while we gain more power. It's your call. The vulture style of play is always good, especially in solo battle royale modes, where you basically wait for 2 other players to finish a fight, and then you walk in and secure the kill on the survivor who's quite low after winning, like the scum that you are. As you might expect, the map slowly decreases in playable terrain as those walls close in and in, forcing the players into a tighter and tighter space until they're unable to avoid that final fight. To win, like in any battle royale, the goal is to be the last player standing, so defeating players at key moments, gathering power and better gear so that you have the best possible chance to win that final fight is the way to win. I found that a good mix of exploration, monster slaying, and PvP battles was a good way forward, being aware of those hot spots where you can gather the best loot and farm XP really quickly, or catch players out attempting the same. The start of the rounds are unusual for battle royales. We actually all start in the lobby together in the center of the map, where we have 1,000 coins to spend with the vendors however we want. I like to buy the strongest weapon I could buy for 800 coins, and then I would use the last 200 remaining to grab a glider and get a good starting location to farm out some basic XP and equipment away from any other players at the beginning. There's also a short grace period at the beginning, 60 seconds, so you don't have to worry about PvP until that time is up. We can travel around the world on foot or on horseback if you buy one of those, or even find one and put one of the saddles on it, or the gliders, like I said, that you can spend money with at the town. The second mode of play is Team Battle Royale, which are basically the same thing playing, but in teams of 3. This was the mode I couldn't play during the stress test, but I did look into it and watch some other gameplay. It's a much faster pace because of the 3-man squads, letting you farm enemies way faster and gather power much quicker with that. Dungeons and bosses are much more contested, and the battles themselves are a lot more bursty if you're not careful because there's more people involved. Certainly more viable with friends than randoms, where we can coordinate each other on voice, but there are mechanics in place in this game for in-game teamwork, be it text chat, voice chat, or the ping system. Though I will say, in this stress test, the mics were often set to open by default, and people did not seem to notice, so I could hear them just talking to each other, or like not realizing we could hear them in the lobby, which is weird. If a teammate does die in trios though, there's actually respawn points around the map for a channeled res, which is a great feature in a game that will certainly punish solo players versus teams. The third mode of play is the tag match, which should give you a good chance to practice against different classes and try out different classes and their abilities, practicing your ability to duel and maximize your chances of winning in the real game. In this mode, you get to choose between 2 characters to swap between against the one opponent who's doing the same. A more balanced way to do PvP because there's not XP and gear affecting your odds of winning, and therefore this makes for much better practice. Finally, that fourth mode is free-for-all, which sends you in the same sort of arena environment against 3 other players to fight it out at random, and attempt to be the last person alive. Another good way to practice, but I would say this is probably a better mode for warming up rather than worrying about the result and really trying to win, compared to say more skill and balanced tag matches before you jump into battle royales. They do plan on adding new game modes too sometime after the launch of the early access. For some extra details though, the game has skins and emotes and victory poses to unlock and use already. There is actually a ridiculous amount of these to choose between during just a stress test, and you unlock these by using in-game currency, which we had an insane amount of during that stress test, so I'm not really sure how fast you earn this in real gameplay. But none of this seemed to affect gameplay in any direct way, so I'm not really worried about it. Now, as we play more and more and more, we will progress our overall account level, which unlocks mastery points. Look at the size of this thing, giving you different passive benefits depending on what you choose to unlock. It progresses in 3 types: health, damage, and faster XP gains. Now, these slight increases will become much more dangerous when you've amassed many of these, especially I think the XP gains, which will give you an advantage when grinding to level 20 for your ultimate ability. Now, as a new player, and everyone else in the stress test being relatively new, I did not experience any issues with this mastery system, but I have a feeling later down the line, these passive bonuses will be a noticeable advantage after someone's unlocked tons of them. And I'm not sure this is a good system for a progression game like this. It seems like an unfair long-term advantage if the benefits are noticeable. In future, kill cams and replay systems are going to be added too, so we'll be able to watch back fights and learn where things went right or wrong. And I was happy to see that the game's seen quite a lot of solid balance changes already. There's been a bunch of optimizations throughout the alpha testing, and they seem to be taking player feedback on board well so far, so hopefully that keeps up during the early access. That's everything I think you should know about Hunters Arena Legends, and my experience with it so far is a pretty unique take on the battle royale genre and some satisfying skill-based combat to try out with it. The only game I can compare this to is Shadow Arena from the BDO devs, and there's even some clear differences in mechanics between these 2 games. I'm interested to see how this game is received at launch. I'd certainly say they've done a good job of delivering on the many mechanics they promised when I covered the game originally. There is a lot going on here. What do you think about Hunters Arena? Will you be giving it a try when it goes live on July 15th? If you do, once again, be sure to use our links. For now though, I've been Hollow, you've been you, and I'll see you next time.